So, last election didn't go so well. Threats of bans are coming. I don't believe in fear-mongering or stirring stuff up or trying to sensationalize things, but I did want to go over what you might want to be focusing on in case some of those threatened gun laws come through, especially now that we have our stimulus checks. That's what's coming up next. Before we get too into this, I want to preface with some backstory. This is being filmed in March of 2021. We've just had, not too long ago, a rather not so great election. We've also been experiencing more than a year of ammo shortage, with prices coming back in pretty insane, to the point that a lot of folks aren't buying ammo, aren't shooting, waiting for those prices to come back down, or they're looking for alternative calibers to shoot and the firearms to do that in. This is more focused on the long term, assuming ammo is going to come back. What firearms and accessories do you want to be focused on? Especially if, like me, you just got in your stimulus check. And I'm sure the Biden administration understood that us patriots would be supporting our freedoms and civil liberties by exercising them with that stimulus check. So, when it comes to picking up a rifle, looking at modern sporting rifles, ARs, or AKs, right? Two good options. My first short answer would be go with the AK. Reason being, well, there's a couple of them. 7.62 by 39 millimeter or 5.45 by 39 is still cheaper and still relatively more available than 223. But let's say there's going to be a ban flat out, or the registration, the taxation of owning a modern sporting arm, and you're an AR guy. Currently, we know the lower receiver to be the part that the ATF recognizes as the firearm. That's the part that could be impacted by legislation. Should you hoard up on a bunch of lowers? Maybe, maybe not. But what I would focus on is quality. This Double Star 3GR 2.0 is a competition-inspired gun. A lot of people say, well, why would you do that? Well, first off, for you chairborne commandos, you can get it in black. It doesn't have to come in red, so you can still be tactical that way. But increased accuracy, increased reliability, and softer shooting. You guys have seen our review on this gun. It's really hard to argue the validity or the value in a basic AR when there's ARs out there that can shoot like this one can. My thought on that, and why I bring up going for quality, is if there is a tax that comes on these and they want to backdate and they want to dig through registration and things like that and say, oh, you filled out a 4473 on this 2 years ago, now you got to pay a tax on it. I'd rather pay a $200 tax on a quality rifle that is accurate than pay a $200 tax on an empty lower receiver that I haven't built yet. Or perhaps even worse, $200 tax on a garbage gun that I picked up just because it was a gun I could pick up. So if you're going AR, focus on the good stuff. The bigger threat, though, I think, comes to those on this side of things. AKs. This is a Vishka that we've tuned up. This is a WBP Fox. Both excellent, high quality, 100% reliable, accurate, great shooting guns. Which of these two is under the biggest threat? The answer, for those of you that have been around the firearms industry for a while, is the WBP, the Fox. Why? Because it's foreign. For some reason, all it takes is an executive order, a simple whip of the pen, and imports like these get shut down overnight, versus domestic production continue for at least a little while thereafter. A lot harder to go after US business. So if you're thinking AK, even though it's great, and I celebrate that after decades we finally have good US made, 100% US made AKs, if you're leaning for an AK, go for an import, as long as it's not going to have too much proprietary stuff. That's part of why I went with the WBP on this one, versus like a Zastava, one of the Serbian pattern guns. Then you've got a lot of different pattern parts, which means your accessories, your repair parts, replacement parts, and things later on down the road are going to be unique, whereas this WBP and this Century could accept Romanian parts, any commonly available popular standard AKM parts, if you will. So that's my advice on those. What's even easier to get shut down and under greater threat, because they've already mentioned wanting to do it? Large format foreign made pistols like this Draco. These things are a lot of fun. If you saw our article in Tactical Life, you realize that they are more than just flamethrowers and noisemakers. Actually, still a substantial amount of energy coming out of them. They're not something to be scoffed as just a range toy. Actually, quite practical. Anyways, because this is a large format pistol, it's one of the things that by name was threatened a year or two ago and could quite easily get shut off overnight. So if you're not afraid of a little bit of a fireball and some loud noise and you want something more portable, imported large format pistols like this or the Grand Power Stribog are probably where I'd be paying attention. Beyond that, there's more. Remember the threats about magazines? Starting on our AK side, right? A lot of us have US made magazines. It's part of 922R compliance if you've got a foreign made gun. If you go with something like the Visca, then you don't have to worry about it at all. You can run foreign mags. But my point here is if there's this mag registration mag tax, I don't even know how you register something that doesn't have a serial number. But anyways, if they start taxing these, let's say you're grandfathered in, you get to keep all the mags you already have. That's great until you go to replace them. Then you have to start paying the tax. So my focus is on the quality and well built. Have here two examples. This is a master molder. I don't think these guys are even in business anymore, but I bought this thing probably 10 years ago for like $3 or $4. I bought it because it was cheap, I could afford it, and I've used it for years. And those of you that watch our videos know that this mag recently quit on us. The reason being, it doesn't have any metal reinforcement. The front lip here and the rear tang, those interact with the receiver, which is steel. This is softer than steel. So banging those in there, scraping in, doing your quick reloads, things like that, shaves off a little bit of plastic over time and they give up. So things like your P-mags, really anything that doesn't have the metal reinforcement, they're great range mags, no complaints. Even this cheapo master molder had it for years. It wasn't problematic until it finally gave up the ghost. So focusing on something like this, this is one of the newer US Palms with the steel inside, both at the front edge and the back. That is where it needs to be tough. You can go with those if you don't want to get Soviet production or overseas metal mags. But the point is, focus on getting quality mags so that your likelihood of needing to replace them is much lower. And for you AR guys, the same applies. I've got polymer mag and an aluminum mag here. Aluminum I used to think wasn't really that tough, but keep in mind, just like an AK, when you insert a mag into an AR, the interaction, the interface between the magazine and the gun is steel. That mag catch is steel. So if you're running a polymer mag, it's going to wear out over time. Aluminum a little bit less. Steel mag, probably gonna last even longer. So it's pretty simple, sound advice if you ask me. If you're gonna be picking up some mags or you wanna start hoarding up mags, plastic's not the way to go. Go with something metal. This is an aluminum Duramag, and this is a Torque mag. Great mags, been using these for years, no problems with them, but I do know that someday that polymer is gonna wear out. To wrap all this up into my one random guy's advice, if you're trying to decide and you're open between AK and AR, that's up to you. If you're going with an AR, go for a quality one. Probably complete rifle, because it's a lot better to pay a tax on that than to pay a tax on a receiver you haven't even built yet and may not be able to build if parts disappear. I'm not so worried about ARs, considering how freaking popular they are, how many millions of ARs are out there. It's pretty hard to ban them. AKs, however, especially the imports, are an easy target for the administration to go after. And then beyond that, the large format pistol, AK pistols, if you will, those have already been named as a potential target. So that's where I would focus when you're looking at getting a firearm. Between AK and AR, the big advantage with the AK right now is the ammo is still somewhat affordable. It's not as cheap as it used to be, but it's still available. And that's simply what you get when you've got a cartridge that's been produced for, what, going on almost 80 years now. When it comes to your accessories, your standard capacity magazines, buy quality. Maybe instead of 3 cheapies, get 2 good ones. I'd be looking at metal over polymer, or at least reinforced polymer like This US Palm has the steel front and rear where it counts. I believe also inside up the feed, not sure, but some of the newer Pro Mag ones have metal reinforcing at the lips as well. Yeah, so you buy a couple less of those, but you get higher quality, something that's going to last longer. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this. Once again, I'm not saying rush out and buy. I'm just saying for those that are feeling the rush and headed out to buy smartly. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and plans have been. If you're just sitting, if you're just waiting, if you've already got everything you think you need, that kind of deal. But I know that we have, at this point, millions of new firearms owners who probably are feeling empowered with the liberty that is being able to defend yourself and your family and not relying on the state to do that for you. So if you're one of those people and you're looking to buy an MSR, this has been my advice. One more. I got to throw this in here. I have to share this with you guys. So the last video I filmed out here on my deck, some guy very loudly, very strongly believed that this was all green screen behind me, and that I, in editing the video, adjusted the lighting because you saw the sun go down. It was filmed in the wintertime. I'm up in Oregon where we don't get a lot of daylight in the wintertime, so it got dark while I was talking. No, that's what you're seeing. That fence is the end of my property, and then down below there's a hazelnut orchard that isn't very successful because that's a floodplain down there, and some trees. You even hear the birds from it. This lighting, that's because I'm on the deck, and when I had the deck built, I had them put lights in it so I could film out here or sit out here on those dark nights. Anyways, I just thought it was really funny, especially for a video that's just someone talking in front of the camera, to say that I would put the time and effort into green screening, which is not always that easy, and then doing all the editing after the fact. If you're still watching this far, I really appreciate it, and for those of you still chuckling over that guy, I'm going to hop off the deck and walk out to the fence line there so you can see it's not green screen. Camera might not even see me at this point. I can't tell. Standing out in the rain. This is not green screen, folks. Anyways, thank you for going on 6 years of support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.